Good afternoon, my wonderful and most dependable friend, Kunle Banwo.
Thank you so much, Shagun. It's a privilege to be together again. We've had a little break,
Yeah, a little
but
bit.
it's delightful to be back here,
Yeah,
and it's a privilege to join up together for
yeah.
this.
Thank you very much for this collaboration. I know we were talking about uh, the importance of collaborating, networking with people when you get to some level in life. You know, particularly in Africa, many people prefer to do things going solo. You know, they don't really want people to participate in whatever they do. And well, you can get some success doing that, but in my experience, as I've grown more in knowledge and understanding of how things work, no matter the level of success you achieve, it's still going to limit you. Unlike if you collaborate with people who are going to bring different perspective, bring in different dimension into that particular idea. So maybe since I turned maybe a little bit over 40, I begin to realign myself from doing something alone to now collaborating with people, which is one of the reasons why we are collaborating this Leadership Blueprint podcast together.
Absolutely. They said that if you want to go quickly, you go alone.
Yeah,
But if you want to go far, you go with people.
go
So,
to
and we know that one cannot multiply. One is too insignificant to multiply. So, absolutely, it is the way it must be. Isn't that the reason why we have all these great organizations, the United Nations, we have the G20, the G7, when people come together to do something that creates synergy. So it is absolutely the smart thing.
yeah. And also, I'm also delighted because uh, we are not quite where we want, but we are moving towards that direction. And I can see, I can see that this is a podcast that has a great future. And you know, I was asking Grog because I use more of Grog when I want to use AI to find out some information because for some reason I just love the way Grog works. And I was asking Grog a certain question, and you know, I was so amazed that Grog could link what I was asking to School of Transformational Leadership. I was so surprised because he was saying, okay, if you do this, do this, do this, and then doing this, it's perfectly aligned with what you're already doing it with School of Transformation. I was so surprised that, wow, so
You'll be
this you
surprised.
understand.
You'll be surprised how much of information is out there.
Yeah, I was really shocked that even at that level, I could be recognized that I was already doing some work with School of Transformational Leadership without me even paying much attention to it.
Yes, you know that the point of AI is not AI is a knowledge aggregator.
Mm,
So, which is why you have what they call the LLMs, the large language model.
mm,
It brings information from everywhere, even
everywhere.
places that you least suspect. It will go to your LinkedIn, it will
Yeah.
go to your Facebook, bring all that together,
Wow.
and then say something that you're wondering, oh, how did you know that? Well, you've been feeding this machine all this time.
Yeah, that's good. To Kunle, we want to talk about something very important today. And our conversation is going to center around strategy.
Hmm.
Strategy, uh, My first understanding of strategy came, I would say, uh, from my reading of Ecclesiastes, where the Bible was talking about the labor of a foolish man wearies everyone because he does not know how to go to the city.
Mm,
Well, that is perfectly lack of strategic thinking. When you don't have strategic approach to how to do things, you may be laboring, you may be working, you may be doing a lot of things. People may be seeing you sweating. But if you don't have that strategic edge of how to do it and when to do it and the best approach to do it, it will just be all sweat and nothing to show for it. And from that time, I think it made me to be conscious that in whatever I am doing, it is not just knowing what to do, but also learning how to do it. Because without learning how to do it, your frustration is going to be like, it's going to be endless.
mhm. 100%. And you're so right, because the Bible is replete with strategies,
Mm.
with uh, the idea of how to do something. Isn't that also what we've seen right from the book of Genesis?
Yeah.
How that um, God always lays out a strategy, or when you look at the work of God, you can see the strategic thinking behind all
Yeah.
that it,
Yeah.
you know, there's a place where it says, "Oh God, how wonderful are your works! In wisdom you've done them all.
We made them all.
You've made them all. The earth, therefore, is full of your riches." So, God Himself is the master strategist. He is the source of strategy. Therefore, it is natural that we think that way, that we also incorporate strategic thinking into everything we do to achieve the right outcomes.
So I think on that point, we can uh, come to the topic for today, even though I modified it a little bit from what I initially gave you, because I was just looking at that topic and I was kind of reflecting more on his, and I felt that the topic should be a little bit more, it should be a little bit better than the way I captioned it initially. And what you have just described about God having a strategic thinking and then laying out everything beforehand and then working his way into it until the result is achieved perfectly matches the topic which we are looking at today, which is winning your game plan with strategy. There is no doubt most people have a game plan. They know what to do. They have a vision. Sometimes people may lack vision, but most times I've also come to realize that most people do have some form of vision. But what they lack is how to win that game plan with strategic thinking. So to set the ball rolling, let's talk about uh, the concepts that is called strategy. How do we want to define it? How do we want people to understand the value that strategy brings
Mm.
in your vision or to your dream?
Yeah, that's a wonderful place to start. Absolutely. And I'll probably say a few words, and I know you have a lot of insights in this area as well. So, well, think about it this way, Shegun. To me, I want simplicity. I found out that you can build a whole lot when you have simple building blocks that you can then organize to get to the ultimate picture you're trying to build. So, to me, strategy is simply a plan to create value.
mm,
Someone must be thinking there is this outcome that we want to achieve. Okay, so you may have a vision. Your vision may be grand, maybe big, maybe small. And as part of defining that vision, most of the time, people would then define goals, the markers along the way that will help you to know if that vision is being realized. But all these things are very much at high level. You would even set your objectives so that your mission is very clear. But the question is, how do you now execute that mission, that goal, those objectives? That is where strategy comes in. Strategy is about how. How do we achieve this vision that we have, or and the goals and the objectives of that vision? So, and one thing that is very important about strategy is that it has to be the outcomes that need to be created has to be tangible. It's got to be measurable outcomes. And in that sense, strategy then has to do with the decisions that we have to make and the choices we have to make in order to create that value. So it means then that just about anyone can start to think in strategic terms. I want to differentiate strategy from tactics, or like the detailed execution plan, because that's not strategy. Strategies first and foremost is about saying, I think an example will be useful. If we say we want the education sector to be transformed, as an example, we must have certain metrics that we've identified
mm,
as a way to measure if and how that sector is being transformed. But in order for us to achieve those outcomes, we need to be defining certain decisions that we must make. So, for example, you can say, let us break all of our regions into six, the country into six regions, strategic regions, and each of those regions having an oversight
mm,
that will be the one coordinating
mm,
matters of education as it relates to that region.
mm,
So that's a decision you are making because there is a particular value that is that you intend to create.
mm,
So those decisions, that's why they're called strategic decisions.
mm,
And they come out of strategic thinking because you are thinking about the outcome.
mm.
If there's no outcome, then strategy is meaningless.
Very nice. Mm,
But because you have an outcome
mm,
that you are aiming for,
mm,
then we need to make certain choices,
mm,
make certain decisions that will lead us to achieving those outcomes.
mm,
And so it is I'll call strategy the big how,
mm,
the high level how.
mm.
Because what that does is it quickly gives us a framework
Mm,
with which to start looking at value creation.
mm, mm,
And that is maybe my starting point when it comes to how to think about strategy.
mm,
Because sometimes it is easy to confuse strategy with tactics.
mm,
Sometimes it can. Some people may even be as simplistic as saying it's a matter of time frame.
mm,
Well, maybe not. But the point is, what decisions do we have to make?
mm,
What choices do we have to make in order to create certain outcomes that we want?
mm. Thank you very much, Kunle. Now, uh, to go a little bit further from where you stopped, you made mention of the value of outcome when you are looking at strategy. You know, for me, in all my study and research on strategy, I've come to realize that strategy wants to fulfill just one goal, and the goal is to optimize outcome, to optimize results. And another thing about strategy that I've also come to realize and appreciate is that a strategy or your strategy shouldn't be something that is commonplace. It shouldn't be easy for people to copy. The moment people can duplicate your strategy, I bet that's not a strategy. A strategy is something that is only unique to you, that only you can implement, that separates you from other people, that though people may attempt to duplicate it, they find it very difficult to domesticate and then implement it in the way that they will get the same result as you are getting. That is, for me, the essence of strategy. It has to be something that you have been able to customize in such a way that it only works for you. People can see the result, but they don't know how to duplicate it to produce the same result. Well, over time, people may get to know how you're able to arrive at it, but the moment they know how you arrived at it, then you need to take another step further uh, to create another strategic move. That for me is what strategy is: ability to optimize your outcome. You want to get the best possible results out of your approach. That for me is what strategy is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's right because it's about it's about maximizing value.
Yeah,
It's about having the best result possible.
yeah,
I want to bring this on because I know that we want to shorten the distance between theory and execution.
yeah,
So, I keep asking myself this, Shagun, and I'm sure you will as well. I say that if I look at church now, this is just I'm not picking on church. I'm just using church as an example. And please, I ask for I crave your indulgence, everyone. If the outcomes we want are, for example, let's say good marriages, strong marriages, yeah. If another outcome is we want to have excellent business and professionals amongst ourselves, and we want our youth to be exemplary, model youth, whether they're in the secondary school, in the tertiary institution, or as they progress in life before they go into, taking more responsibility in life. So if that is what we want as an outcome, and we're so intent on making sure that is what comes out, then we must make some decisions, we must make some choices that will help us to get those outcomes
yeah,
in the best way possible,
exactly,
without toiling, without we would have to work, sure,
exactly.
but but everything we are doing, the way we deploy our resources, the way we organize our time, the way we organize our systems, will have to be altered in order to help us produce those outcomes.
Mm,
If we don't, then we're just banking on luck.
mm.
we're hoping to get lucky that somehow we will arrive there without those specific decisions and choices that make to back up the kind of outcomes that we want.
It-
So,
it-
sorry, yeah. So please jump in. Yeah.
yeah, Kunle, what you just mentioned now made me to remember my sermon for last Sunday, which was on the parable of the Good Samaritan. And I was talking about uh, the goal of the gospel or the goal of the Great Commission. Uh, the goal of the gospel is not to create a religion,
Mm-mm.
is to create a cultural transformation. You know, when we position the gospel in the light of a religion, the result is what we are getting currently.
Yeah.
There is no other result we are going to get other than what we currently have. Because the way the gospel has been embraced and deployed is that it must keep producing. Maybe I want to use religion fanatics like as we have today. But the other goal of the gospel is not just to create a religion, but to create a culture, a way of life.
Yeah. It's culture.
That is, for me, is what the gospel, that is the end goal of the gospel. That is the end goal of the good news. And that is why you could see that in the parable of the Good Samaritan, the, the priests and the Levites were more preoccupied with fulfilling their religious obligation. They left the ministry. The ministry was right there in front of them, but they couldn't see that as ministry.
Because religion is entirely about rituals that you have
Exactly.
to keep.
Exactly.
Whereas, whereas when you talk about the good news, right?
Yeah.
It's about the
Transformation.
transformation
Yeah.
of society in order to produce the best quality of life for
Yeah.
every
For
citizen.
everyone. Yeah. Exactly.
Period. So, and this is why, you know, and maybe part of it is the misconception around gospel. Because I say, if you say good news, the natural thing for me to ask you is, what is good about the news? What is it? What exactly the good news? What is the good thing that you want to tell me about? Good news is meaningless on its own. If I just say, Shagun, good news,
I've come to share the good news with you.
it is meaningless.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, what is the news?
Mm.
And I have to judge whether it is good for me or not.
Mm.
You can't shove that down my throat and say it's good.
Exactly.
Oh, you must believe it is good. No, no. If I don't think it's good, it is not good.
It is not good. Exactly.
So it must be good. You must convince me that it is indeed very good. No wonder
Mm.
when Jesus said, "You who have been put in the weakest position in society,
Mm.
we're going to give you a better deal. You're going to get the citizenship of a country that's going to so much prioritize your value.
Mm.
You're going to be treated like the best thing that has happened since sliced bread." People say, "Oh, that is indeed good news." Look, Shagun, you know my story. There was one time I was working in the poultry house and going under chicken, and they would literally put their droppings on me, right? Okay. So if you told me that time that, Kunle, you're going to change this now, we're going to give you a totally different work arrangement where your salary is multiplied tenfold and you don't have to go under this pen anymore. Um, and what's more, your bonus
Mm.
again will be, I mean, several orders of magnitude. and you're going to be the CEO of the company. Am I going to take that as good news or not? Of course I will, because now I can measure it.
mm,
So Jesus was giving them measurable things.
mm,
Okay, wait a minute. If your life is so bad
mm,
that you are being trampled on,
mm,
we're going to give you so much value. In fact, we're going to make you the most important people in the country.
mm,
Somebody who is trampled on will tell you that is good news.
mm.
There's no, it's not a just take it. It's not, we're not building castles in the air.
Yeah.
But religion, all it's after is we must light this candle. It must be lit in a particular way. If you don't light it that way, you are wrong. You are wrong. You have not lit the candle very well. So
Yeah.
you're fighting on meaningless things.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to wear your suit this way. If you don't wear it this way, you don't look holy enough. You don't look presentable. Meaningless, meaningless. Honestly, things that don't really create any value. So, and that's why what you're saying is absolutely correct. That the the transformation of society by the culture
Yeah. By the culture.
that that is created, because
The
the
way
goal.
the way we are living out that gospel.
Yes, exactly. And maybe one of the issues is that they say the framework in which people process information is more important than the information itself.
Mm,
So, for example, if the gospel is presented as a religion, people only see it as religion. But if you
exactly.
understand that when you say kingdom of heaven,
Yeah.
and relate that to how a country works,
Yeah.
and you say kingdom of God, and you relate that to how a government works, so you're thinking
Mm,
country and government. You're
mm,
now you see the gospel entirely differently.
yeah.
That, oh, when you say for yours is the kingdom, if I say Shagun, I'm giving you US.
Mm.
If I say Shagun, be happy, good news, I'm giving you US. That on its own is meaningless unless you think, how do you give me US? Oh, you give me citizenship of US.
Mm.
Does that make sense? It makes more sense. You say,
That's
wow, this is good news. Now
yeah.
I'm a citizen of the country. I
Yeah.
have so much right.
Yeah.
My rights are protected.
Yes.
Now, because you are thinking in terms of government and country.
Mm,
But if I say I'm giving US, and what you do is you go to the Washington Memorial, you go there to bow down and bow down and bow down and take some clothes and put it there and say, "Oh, Washington, Washington, I like you, Washington." What you're doing is meaningless activity.
mm,
It is absolutely meaningless.
mm, mm. So as I was saying, uh, looking at the action of the priests and the Levites, who are supposed to be the custodian of the culture, but they are more preoccupied with the activities rather than what bring transformation to the society. The the priest didn't even bother to look. He just went on the other side and went his way. The Levites even tried a little bit. He peeped, he looked, but then said, I'm the choir master, I'm the technical director. He left quickly and went his way. But here was a man, Kunle. This was not a religious man.
It was simply a responsible citizen.
He's a responsible citizen. He came to that man, did all that was necessary to be done, took care of that man, paid for the service of that man, put that man on his own donkey,
Yeah,
which today would mean his own car or his own private jet or whatever way you want to call it.
yeah, yeah.
He didn't call another car to come and take him. His own car. That
It
was
didn't call an ambulance.
an ambulance. He used his own car and then paid for that service and instructed that if you need more, contact me and I will be willing to pay.
Yeah, he gave them his credit card and said, you can do direct debit.
Yeah. And now Jesus asked a very important question from that lawyer. He asked, among these three people, who is a neighbor to this man that was attacked, that was robbed on the way? Who is a neighbor?
And I like the final question, the final instruction say you go and do
Go and do
likewise.
likewise.
Meaning,
He said,
Shegun,
go and perform your rituals.
no,
Go,
no, no.
go.
So look at it. Just saying, so religion wants to go and do something for
Yeah,
God.
for God.
But good citizenship
Yeah,
wants to do something for your fellow citizen as a way of serving God. You
yes.
see?
Yeah,
So you are saying even the very least of us
yeah.
is of so much value. As a matter of fact, your value is equal to my value.
Mm,
Uh, and that's what love means. Love means I value you the way I value myself. If I was in that situation,
mm,
how would I want to be treated?
mm,
Therefore, I'm going to treat you in like manner.
mm,
That you are worth so much that you should not be left in that tragic situation. And that's why. But look at what Jesus is saying there. What outcome do we want? We want we want a kingdom
mm,
where everyone values the life of each other equally.
mm,
And look at the the I won't call it subliminal messaging, but more like the indirect message there is to say if you value your fellow citizen,
yeah,
you will not pluck his eyes just
yeah,
because your own eye was removed.
yeah.
Because the idea of eye for an eye is not to turn all of us into one-eyed citizens. No, is to say if you value your fellow citizen so much so that removing his eyes would mean that your eyes will have to be removed to have parity of action,
Mm,
then you would do everything to protect them so
mm,
that they are not even hurt in the first instance. In other words, it's meant to create a deterrence.
mm,
That is, the only thing that can equate to the life of another individual is a life as well.
mm,
Therefore,
mm,
if you want all of the lives to be protected,
mm,
then do exactly that.
mm,
Arrange everything, make choices that protect lives
mm,
rather than destroy it.
mm,
So and you can see God's strategy say, I want a country
yeah,
where everyone is treated the best way possible as if you are treating the way you would treat God.
mm,
Because he's saying, look, I put my value, I give you my value. Therefore, all of you be sure to understand that you all are
and,
so valuable to me.
and
And
anything you have done for the least of this, my brethren,
you've done it to me.
um,
You've
for me.
done it to me. So you're saying you all are I'm not trying to give you value.
Yeah,
I'm reaffirming your value. Your value was predetermined, and I determined that in Genesis 1:26.
mm,
Let us make man in God's
mm,
image.
mm,
I've already decided your value.
mm,
So any later calculation is too late. We don't need a recalculation of that equation.
mm,
You're already my value. So treat everyone like that.
mm,
That's why I said, look, the two greatest commandments, love the Lord your God,
mm,
and then love your neighbor. Said the two are the same.
mm,
So what does that mean? It means then that if that is the kind of outcome, if no, so if the outcome is to have a country that is full of loyalty,
mm,
then you have to make a decision about their value
mm,
and how they should preserve that value. That
mm,
is the purpose of law. The purpose of law is really the decision and how to preserve the value
mm,
of people in
mm,
the kingdom of God.
mm,
So that's why I say God is the master strategist. You can see strategy backing everything that he does.
mm.
And that is one of the things that Jesus highlighted in that parable. So what we are doing right now uh, must be our normal thinking.
Mm.
Yeah. When we talk about strategy, which it should not sound like we are doing anything special. It should be something so normal. So because that is our group think. We all think that way.
Now, Kunle, we're still trying to flesh out the idea of strategy, at least so that um, all our listeners can have a very good uh, grip on what strategy is and how they can deploy it in their own context. Now, looking at strategy as something that is valuable for the optimization of results in our life, in our society, in our organization, in our workplace, even in our family, in our private life, you need some personal strategy.
Mm.
Personally, I have strategies that I deploy that enables me, that has enabled me to become who I have become today. Now, is it true that a strategy do have a core? That when you look at strategy, you look at it and say, this is the centrality of what a strategy is. Do we have such a thing?
I think so. Depend on how you look at it. So if I look at it from one angle, right, I say what is when you say what is the core of something,
Yeah,
I say if I say that to mean what is the reason for it?
yeah,
Why would you even do it?
exactly.
That will start with why. Why would you? What's at the heart of strategy?
Yeah,
Well, to me, the what is at the heart of value strategy is value creation.
mm,
It's value.
mm,
It- what is so if somebody starts a business today, right? I want to use an example. Um, Maybe Boeing.
mm,
There is a particular value they want to create, which is why they've gone into that business.
mm,
And everything to do revolves around creating that value in the best way possible.
mm,
That value is also what we mean by outcome. It's also what we mean by result, right? And because I we want this thing to be the outcome of all of our collective effort, there are things we must do. There are things we must also stop doing. There is if we have 1 billion, there's a way we must use 1 billion.
mm,
If we have 100 people working for us, there is a way they must work.
mm,
In other words, there's an approach we must take in order to create that value, to arrive at where we set out to arrive. So don't forget, mission is a journey
mm,
to an outcome.
mm,
So therefore, strategies is how do you actually get
mm,
that outcome?
mm.
How do you do it? Because if you took the wrong way, you may find yourself where you would never wanted.
Exactly.
So how do you ensure that you arrive
Mm,
where you set out to arrive in the first place?
mm,
That is what strategy is about at its very core.
mm,
So in my line of business, sometimes I'm at a client to do data strategy. So and they'll say, well, how do we use our data asset in order to meet our so and so vision? So we can say a vision for vision 2050. Okay, that's what that we have a vision that by 2050 we are a fully automated company.
mm,
So the question, and then it says, so what is our business strategy? What is our data strategy?
mm,
In other words, what are the things that we need to do in order to arrive at that end result?
mm,
So unless there is that driver of value, then really um, every activity is without meaning.
mm,
So, and the question then has to be, what is value? Because that has to be defined.
mm,
What is value?
mm,
If I go strictly business in business terms, I can say that. So let's say I produce maybe car vehicles, right? And you are one of my best customers. I must have a value in my mind at which I'll be willing to sell that car. Because as a producer, I must have a particular figure in my mind that this is how I'm willing to sell this car. Then you, as my buyer, you must also have a particular figure in your mind at which you want to buy that car. If I sell it well above the point, the value at which you are willing to buy, what are you going to do? You're going to walk away. You will say, no, 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 no. This is out of my budget. I cannot pay for this. So it means I have to find a way to lower I want to sell it at the best price possible. So I want to say, okay, what is the lowest I can go in terms of selling price, but how much can I get beyond that selling point? And then you say, this thing, I can buy it here, but can I somehow reduce how much I'll buy it? Now, the gap between the your willingness to pay and my willingness to sell it is what in business terms we call value. We can call it the margin, but it's actually as the value that is created.
as the value creation. Now,
And it's at that value, at that that is the point at which you derive satisfaction. Say, yes, I'm satisfied with how much I paid for that thing.
yeah,
I like it. Yeah. Yes. Nice doing business with you. We shake our hands and I say, well, yes, well, come another time. I look forward to seeing you. Because both of us we've had value created for ourselves.
yes.
So value is that thing that creates delight,
Mm,
that creates a satisfaction, that gives us a sense of benefit realized.
mm, mm. Kunle, I think while you were talking, you were really hitting on some very important issues that I will also want us to uh, throw a little more, uh, maybe add a little more substance to it, just for the benefit of our listeners. Now, uh, you made mention that that strategy is not just about what you want to do. It's also about what you must not do. And this perfectly aligns with what Michael Porter will always say. You know, I know you just said it, you were not really probably thinking of Michael Porter at that point, but I think it was Michael Porter who actually pointed us in that direction that strategy is not just about what you're doing or what you're going to do or what you are doing currently. It's also about what you must not do. It's also a decision you have to stop. You have
Yeah.
to, there are certain things you have to stop doing for efficiency to be achieved. It's not just about doing something, it's also about not doing something that is maybe injurious to your organization.
Yeah.
Now, for me, when I look at the core, the centrality of strategy, okay, I want to implement a strategy that will differentiate me from what other people are doing, that will set me apart, that will put me in a class by itself, different from what is commonplace in other places. I think one of the questions or some of the questions that a strategic thinker must ask himself or herself is, okay, where am I today? What
Mm.
is my current status? What is my current position? And then you look back, where am I coming from? Is there anything to learn from my past that has brought me into this current situation that I am in. And then the most important aspect of strategy is where am I going?
Yep.
Now, knowing where you are going is what beats strategy. Not just knowing that you are going somewhere, but understanding how to optimize that journey so that you
That's
get
that's the outcome. That's the
that, yeah,
result.
that you optimize that journey so that you get the best possible solution.
100%.
And I just think this is the whole essence of strategy.
100%. And honestly, you're spot on because we've used different words, but
Yeah,
we're saying precisely the same thing. Because where am I going? That's the outcome. That's
yeah,
say what is it that would tell me that this journey has been worthwhile?
worthwhile. Yeah,
What is it that once we achieve it, all of our recruitment effort,
mm,
all of our funding
mm,
strategy, whether we've taken loan or we've generated equity by through our savings,
yeah,
um, well, if we have built a new plant,
mm,
like maybe we just hired a 100-acre land and we built a whole new plant.
mm,
We've bought instrument worth several billions.
mm,
What is the whole How would we know that all of that has been worthwhile?
mm,
That's where we're going. If we can achieve this,
yeah,
then all of this thing that we have done
yeah, is
will,
worthwhile.
will have been worthwhile.
Yeah.
I,
Now,
I, yeah, please go on.
Kunle, when I was in the university, of course, we schooled together, though in different campuses, but living in the same room together. There was one of my professor, if I can remember his name now, Professor Zio Ideji, or I can't remember. He was our HOD then in business administration department. He was our HOD, and he was the one who was always teaching us about uh, international business, strategic business and things like that. Now, he was always saying something at that time. I really struggled with it that time, but it became a subject of contemplation for me for many, many years until I was able to process it very well and actually came to understand that what he was saying was true. Now, many people view strategy as something they have written down. This is what I'm going to do. This is where I am going. And then for me, I think that is strategy. But this professor will keep telling us that is not your strategy.
Yep.
Your goals, your objectives are not your strategies.
No, they are not.
They are your strategy is what you are doing. Is an action. It's something that is being done. An active uh, effort you are making to rewrite your story. So I just want you to make me and our viewers understand how is strategy different from a goal or an objective. Is there any difference?
You know, life is a journey.
Mm,
And when we talk about all of these things, we are talking about things that connect to one another.
yes.
They are part of a big picture.
Yeah.
That's why we're saying that first and foremost, there has to be the reason why an organization exists.
Yeah.
Okay, if we are not talking, if what if we are talking about an individual?
Mm.
Well, for an individual, let's say marriage,
Mm.
there must be a reason why you are going into marriage.
Mm.
How about a student?
Mm.
There must be a reason why you are going to school.
Mm.
Otherwise, you see, if you find that some people go to school and after 4 weeks they have joined a particular club and they are using machete, well, you have to say somehow something went something went wrong somehow.
Mm.
But so whether you're talking at an individual level or
Mm.
at a corporate level,
Mm.
regardless of what that corporation is,
Mm.
for profit, not for profit,
Mm.
there must be a reason why that organization exists.
Mm.
You could be doing something else. You know, in economics, there's something that's called opportunity cost. So
Ridiculous.
once you make a decision,
Yeah.
you are letting go of another decision.
An alternative.
Yeah, of an alternative. So when you choose something, there's a reason why you've chosen it.
Yeah.
Okay, first. So now, in order for you to make the most of your time
Mm.
for choosing that thing and your investment,
Mm.
there are things that should be like markers
Mm.
to say, okay, if I see this,
Mm.
then that means I'm going the right direction.
Mm.
Those are called goals. Goals are like signposts
Yeah.
on the road to where you're going.
Mm.
And your objectives
Mm.
are a synonym of goals,
Mm.
but you can say objectives are more like um, they are connectors between your goals.
Yeah.
They're like saying, well, it's almost as if you are breaking down your goal a little.
Once you achieve the goal, then you have it becomes something that has,
You've met your objective.
yeah, you've met your objective. Yeah.
Exactly. So now, the reason why those goals are not strategy is because those are just dotted
Yeah.
lines
Yeah.
between in your journey. How do you go from one goal to another?
Mm.
How
Mm.
do you how do you how do you achieve
Transition.
go from where you are to achieving goal one,
Mm.
goal two, goal
Mm.
three?
Mm.
That is where your strategy comes in.
Exactly.
Strategy is how.
Mm. Uh,
How do you connect? How do you
and
what
the
is
best and the best possible way.
exactly? Because you can like that can be, there's in operational research, there's something that's called you find the optimal path.
Optimal paths.
Yes. So strategy is saying what is the best way we should take. Yes, there's road A,
Mm.
there's road B, there's road C, but which is the best one that is right for us
Yeah.
in order to meet that goal or to that objective? That is where strategy comes in. Now, there's another thing that we can talk about, which is tactics. Tactics are like what are the sort of
Short
that,
term goal.
that's where the rubber really hits the road.
Yeah.
The things that you do day to day,
Yeah.
week to week,
Yeah.
that keeps you in line to achieving the
Strategy.
strategic decisions you have made.
Yeah.
So those are your tactics. That they are the like short-term execution uh, uh, um, actions, if you
Mm.
like. But so really the question is, can you have strategy without goals?
Mm.
Well, they will not be good strategies
It
for
won't
sure.
be good strategy because he's not aiming at anything.
Exactly. It's like saying that can we play football without goalpost? Well, you can be kicking
You
the ball
can do
around
it,
for
you
sure.
can do it, but you're not going to
But
derive any pleasure.
what's the point?
It's just going to weary you.
Exactly. So the question is, what's the point? What's the point?
Yeah.
So, and that's where I
You
will,
know,
I will
like what is happening currently in Africa, when a competition had already been decided on the field of play, and then the CAF authority decided to through boardroom game they decide to award the cup to, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
You already declare them the winner. You've given
It-
them everything, and then you
it's
are
an
saying
embarrassment.
you're stripping them of the position. It doesn't make
It's an embarrassment. If the strategy was how can we reposition African football
yeah,
so that it begins to gain the kind of respect that other continental, I mean, football tournaments also have. If that is what we are aiming for, okay. So how do we then achieve that? Okay, number one, we need to have the best officiating.
yeah,
We need to make sure that all of our the infrastructure is the right one. We need to make the day-to-day the transportation system. So those now become things that you know you have to do. And then the strategy is okay, right. Okay, okay. Let us make sure that once we those become like your strategic decisions,
yeah.
right? And then, so buying a bus, buying, recruiting the maybe UEFA qualified referees. These are your tactics.
Maybe we should just talk a little bit because there are so many things that happened during that Nations Cup that were just too childish. For example, you always see that when Nigeria is having a match, uh, CAF is always giving Nigeria a referee that they're going to have some form of bias against Nigeria, and which I think CAF shouldn't be doing this. And you can see it. Those referees who officiated in the semifinals is only Ireland is only one of them that is going to World Cup.
Yeah. So
The others are not are
again,
not are not brought into World Cup because people outside could see the deficiency they brought into the game.
yeah. At the end of the day, if you ask ourselves, have we had a respectable tournament? The answer is no, right? So we do not. If ever we wanted some outcomes,
Mm,
I don't think we achieved those outcomes in
mm,
the way that tournament was executed.
mm,
What we remember of that tournament is more of embarrassing situations.
mm,
So in that case, you say we did not achieve the outcome that we wanted to achieve. So it means that then it was a badly executed strategy.
mm.
So we can connect these things and make it come real.
Yeah.
We can bring it at the national level, Shegun. Okay, what kind of nation do we want? And how do we achieve it? Is it a nation where there is groaning
Mm,
and citizens are losing hope
mm,
and just want out by all means, become so desperate, like, you know what? I just want to find my own way. I don't care who is pushed down. If that's not the nation we wanted to create, and that's now what we have, then we can say that somehow we are not, however, the nation is being, the governance is being run, is not producing the kind of outcomes that we desire. And therefore, something is questionable about the strategy.
mm,
So we can bring this home to everything.
mm,
Once the outcome that you're saying is not what is intended, then something went wrong at the strategic level and at the tactical strategy execution level. And this is where these things come home. We can always bring it home so that everybody can say, "Oh, let me sit back.
mm,
What did I actually?" So I always like to bring this back to what value and what outcome. Because once you don't achieve, once those are not realized, then surely it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much effort. It doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. Well, uh, yeah, there's nothing to show for it.
mm. Well, for me, because you're already hitting at the next question that we set out to talk about, which is how do we bring the idea of strategy into a real and lasting change in an organization or a society like our own society in Nigeria? How crucial is the implementation of a strategy into bringing a real, not just uh, uh, public relation kind of change that
Mm,
people would just sugarcoat with their mouth. But when you really look at it, you know nothing is actually happening. It's,
mm,
it's just empty words and just trying to say what is not there. So I looked at it that if we truly want to bring a lasting change, because basically what we are doing here is bringing transformational change through transformational leaders in the society. And of course, to do that, you need strategy. And of course, you also need very uh, inspiring vision to be able to do that. So I looked at it, and because you mentioned earlier on about the importance of value creation in the delivery of strategy. So I looked at it, what are the value proposition of a good strategy? If we want to implement a strategy, what do we need to look at? And I've been able to identify five major things that is very, very crucial
mm,
in the implementation of a strategy. The first one I would call that you need to have a clear vision. There has to be clarity about what you want to do. You must, if you don't have that clarity, every other thing is meaningless. Without the clarity of what you want to do, uh, you are not going to be able to implement a good strategy. Now, after having a clarity of what you want to do, then you need to understand what your competitive edge is. What advantage do I have
yeah.
that people do not possess? Because without having that competitive edge, you're just going to do the same thing that every other persons are doing. And then you end up achieving the same results that they are achieving. But if you do something different, something that they cannot reproduce, it gives you that competitive advantage, or like the economists will call it, the comparative competitive advantage. Sometimes uh, you may be able to do certain things like any other people, but you want to look at the things that you can do that other people cannot do. And then you want to focus your attention on that uh, which sets you apart from every other person. And of course, you need to have your game plan, your strategic game plan. What do I want to do? Your action plan. This is what I am going to do. You need to have that because it is that uh, your game plan, your strategic game plan, that is what is going to enable you to get the best possible results that you are looking for. You need to have a strategic game plan. Then number four, you need to have a technical skill. Your capacity, your capability has to be out of this world, because it is with that that you actually get the job done. If you have all the ideas and you don't have the capability, it's not going to take you anywhere. So you must have technical skill that will enable you to implement your strategy without stress. And of course, you need effective, efficient leadership and management team. It's not just about one person running the show. You need to have an entire team that are working together, collaborating together, moving in the same direction, uh, building strong, working together to execute the strategy that you have come up with uh, in the society or in your organization. And of course, I believe that uh, one of the most one of the most important function of a leader or of a leader or a management team is the ability to allocate resources, whether it is human resources, it is how you are allotting your time, or how you are allocating money, or even the utilization of machine. You need to be able to do all this efficiently because leadership is about efficient allocation of resources. You have to be able to do it effectively and with efficiency. Because if you are not able to do this, you are not going to get the best possible results that you are looking for. For me, I think if we are really serious about bringing a lasting change to our society or to any organization for that matter, these are some of the strategic move
Mm.
that we need to look out for.
Absolutely, and you're right because um, to initiate change, to reposition an organization or a community or a country, these are all very important things. So I wanted to pick on one of the things you mentioned, which is what is our selling point?
Selling
I've
point,
also asked myself,
unique
if you
selling
take
point.
if you take a typical Nigeria, what is it? What is the selling point of a Nigerian? And I say this very carefully because sometimes it is also the cordial with which Nigerians have been beaten. Nigerians are known to be very resilient.
Yes.
We find a way to make ourselves happy and say, we're not going to be beaten.
Yeah.
We will find a way.
Not going to be down.
Yes. And the reason is that we're used to people not just sort of leaving us to find our own way to figure things out for ourselves
Yeah.
because there is no the social contract between the government and the citizen is
Yeah.
very poor.
It's not working.
Maybe it's actually yeah, it's very questionable to be very mild. So the citizen has always had to I mean, to stand up for
Find a
himself,
way. Mm.
find a way. So you say there's no electricity. Okay, we'll find a way to find electricity.
Yeah.
If it means buying generator, if it means uh,
Using
building our
solar
own
panel.
solar, I will just find my own way.
I
Okay,
even learned. I even learned the government of Lagos wants wants people to be paying for using solar panel now.
well, that's another question entirely. But yeah, if they say no, there is no water, we're not going to supply water to you. Okay, the citizen will say, okay, I must find water by all means by myself,
Mm.
and you will see everything that the citizen does. So the citizen, the average Nigerian citizen, is someone who has had to find a way,
Mm.
one way or the other, just make something happen.
Mm.
Now, that, even though it's an advantage,
Mm.
it's also been taken for granted because it's also the reason why most of the times people in leadership position think, well, you don't need to give them anything.
mm,
They will find their own way.
mm.
In fact, you even see it. I remember many times when I would have been in a bus. The bus will say we are going to VI. And suddenly, because the driver sees traffic, you just say, I'm not going again. I say, everybody get down. I'm not going again. Because in the collective psyche of everyone, just think these people, they are tough. They will find a way. You can never get them down. But there is the cumulative effect of resilience. When you are always getting the short end of the stick, it has its cumulative effect that a time comes when you say, you know what, I've had enough.
Yeah,
And that's why Nigerians are probably the most traveled people,
yeah,
not necessarily by choice.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I've had enough of this. I won't allow you to keep me before my time. And
Kunle, people like you and me, you know how much we revere staying back at home to bring change to the society, you know. But I think at some point our endurance was tested beyond measure, and we felt
let's just change, we change our strategies.
maybe we change our strategy.
One of the things you said about right is also how you deploy your resources. So you
Exactly.
say, if I have 20 ounces of energy,
Mm,
and I have to keep fighting and fighting. But then maybe and then I use up all the 20 ounces and I have to go and borrow 10 more ounces. But yet I see another environment where,
mm,
okay, by the time I use 10 ounces of energy,
yeah,
I can actually create a
a value chain.
return where that can start to build up. So you just say, you know what, if I want to be strategic, let
Yeah,
me find where I can redeploy my energy and my
exactly.
so I think
And I
that's what
think that's the reason why some of us moved.
that is nothing. It's nothing more. People don't just uproot themselves
Yeah,
from an environment for the sake of it.
yes,
They have to say, I only have I have limited resources, and every organization, every individual, every country has limited resources. It's not endless.
yeah, it's not endless.
So how do you make the most of what you have
Mm,
within a particular time frame to achieve certain outcomes?
mm,
That's the decision that everybody is faced with, and every country. So to my point around the unique selling point,
mm,
if Nigerians are that kind of resilient people
mm,
and you want to make the most of that,
mm,
then you know that one of the best things you can do for Nigerian is just create environment.
mm.
Just create environment where
They can.
that they can thrive. They'll be fine. They don't. I mean, an average Nigerian is not asking for much.
Yes, they're not. They're
You
not.
know,
That's the
because
truth.
because because we're already used to doing things ourselves, to finding our way, to figuring out things.
Yeah.
Always, all a Nigerian is saying, just give me a chance. Just really give me a chance.
Mm,
Now, if this is at the back of the mind of governmental organizations,
mm,
institutions, and people in administration,
mm,
and say, how can we unleash the power of these people?
mm,
If that is the decision, and they say, okay, let us make a decision that electricity will not be a problem for them as a strategic decision. And then let us make sure that they can get from point A to B without too much um, too much pain. Just all of those things. Then these guys, they love to study. And they even go anywhere they want to study. How about making a decision such that all of the pounds, dollars, naira that they spend on education elsewhere, they can invest that back in the economy. Even if that alone is what is done, Shegun, the the outcomes that will be generated will be so immense. And then if you say, when these people come out, we have 220 million people, and the problem is they're not finding job, which means it is time to change how we do education. How about creating apprenticeship opportunities so that these people are already so close to the world of work that by the time they're coming out, they are ready to go. So there are certain outcomes that you want to achieve, and those will drive some decisions you have to make.
mm,
And then we also determine how you deploy resources. So you say the budget of education must be apportioned in this way. Number one, there is the what we go into the teaching of the theories. Then there's also what we go into partnership between universities and industry, so that these people are not just getting theoretical knowledge, but they're also getting industry relevant knowledge close to the industry, so that by the time they're coming out, they are either ready to go into the workforce or they can go into production.
mm,
Okay, for them to produce, then we must bring down the cost of production. So, the other time I was saying the willingness to pay and the willingness to buy. How does that relate to, say, in this state? So the the cost at which business can be run, we must find a way to reduce that, and then the market for what is produced, we must find a way also to stimulate and expand that. Now, in between those two decisions is what is the value that is created for our professionals and our entrepreneurs. Meaning then that government start to say, let us find a way to stimulate market and build strategic relationships with not with other countries, or then government start to say strategic, yeah, or other industries, strategic industries where these people can either be working directly into the workforce or creating, if you like, products and services as entrepreneurs for those service industry or for those organizations. If we're not thinking that way, and all we do is just to say, okay, education. Well, let's just find any budget we want and just put somebody there. And the person is thinking, life is good now. I'm now the minister of education. It is time for me to eat. And all he's thinking about is how to get money and sign for into his pocket. Then look, then can you see the divergence between strategic thinking and how things are done, such that citizens are never going to have any value? These are the things that have to be in the mind, so that when we do anything, it is with an outcome in mind. Otherwise, look, I look at UK, for example. One of the things that I see that they're doing is to again lower that barrier to entering the workforce,
mm,
which is why they have apprenticeship programs.
mm,
And at the same time, how can you help citizens to innovate? So you're saying that, although there's a bit of struggle in that area, but that is how you see them thinking strategically about this kind of sectors. So if I'm looking at this at a national level, from a country's point of view, this you need to target areas, aspects of the country that way: education, business, defense, and say, what are the outcomes we want to achieve, and what decision do we need to make
mm,
about our resources, about our people, about our USP, our unique selling point, what
mm,
are our strengths?
mm,
How do we deploy our strength
mm,
in a way that helps us to achieve those outcomes?
mm,
How do we resource? And what alliances do we need to build?
mm,
Because all of these things go into strategic thinking.
mm,
And if you're not doing that, what you're saying is, I I'm absolutely the wrong person to be leading this organization or the country.
mm,
And if who are the right people to lead the various agencies? Because it's not the central government that will do all those things. It's also about the recruiting, which is about human resources. Who needs to be where to run each of the divisions, all these sectors of the economy in the right way possible. And if you think about an organization like a business, it's the same thing that you do. You say, well, the CEO and the management team are saying, okay, what are the various, how do we organize ourselves in order to achieve our strategic plan? And who do we need where, right? And what do they need to function in order that we all achieve this grand objective? It's what I see all the time because when I go to an organization, Shegun, you know what I always look at? I always try to find what their vision is and their goal. And I happen to, most of the things I do, some expose me to see those things from time to time. So I kind of see it and say, okay, right. And I can see where they're going. And everybody will be talking about it. Our vision 2030, our vision 2030. And people in the manufacturing, in the production, in IT, in finance, everybody's talking about it and organizing themselves to
around it.
achieve that outcome.
Mm,
So you now see an alignment
mm,
in all of the activities towards that end goal.
mm,
And then there'll be ways to, so part of management is to track your progress. Are we on course?
yeah.
So you begin to see what
How
to,
are we doing?
exactly, you start to see KPI. So what are the measures of being on course? So you then see key performance indicators or key various indicate metrics that helps you to measure in an objective way. And how do we measure things in an objective way? You use data
Mm,
to say, look, all that we are doing, this is what our data is telling us. You may think you are doing well, but your data says you're not doing well enough. So you need to make a change.
mm,
So these are things that, honestly, I've seen this thing so many times that I'm wondering, yes, it sounds like, yeah, I mean, to do otherwise, you have to question people involved. Think, I mean, what's going on? How are you not thinking this way?
mm.
But my point, though, is that as it is true for a country and it is true for a corporation, so it is also true for families and individuals. And it can be applied. The concept of strategy thinking can be applied at every level.
Now, Kunle, this is my honest opinion. I think at this point in time, I believe Africa should be pursuing some sort of strategy. Uh, I don't know whether the leaders we have in Africa currently are thinking about that or they're just meeting for meeting's sake. But I think at this point, because if you really see the nations that are serious, you can see without even you participating in their meetings that they are thinking strategically. They are they're not just thinking for today, they are thinking for the generations to come. I was listening to a very short podcast today, and the guy was analyzing the strategy, the investment strategy that JP Morgan are, are pursuing in this century. As we're talking,
Mm.
the strategy is mind blowing. They're just pursuing three things. If I can remember correctly, they are pursuing AI, investment in AI. They are pursuing investment in security. They are also pursuing investment in art minerals.
In what?
Art minerals, art
Okay.
resources,
Okay. Earth resources. Yeah.
minerals. No, Kunle, if you look at it, Kunle, tell me what strategy could be better than this? You just looking at the global landscape and look at what is happening in the world right now. Tell me what strategy could be better than these three things.
It's very simple. So put it this way. So AI,
Yeah,
right, is a resource intensive
yeah,
operation,
yeah,
right? So number one, you need a lot of power
yeah,
generation
yeah,
to support AI.
mm,
Number two, you also need a lot of health minerals
yeah.
to build AI systems. So one of those is silver.
Yeah. It's not
AI.
just for the AI system, also for defense.
I know. So, but I'm just saying this. AI is one of the biggest consumers of
Yeah,
silver.
silver now.
So if you see that the price of silver has been going up
Mm,
in the last 3 years, yeah, it's because of AI.
mm,
So about 3 years ago, silver was hovering at around $17 to $25.
mm,
You go and check right now. Silver is about 69, 67. At a point, it went to 70, 72.
mm.
And the reason is because AI machines
Mm.
require
Lot of
heavy,
silver.
heavy silver usage. So you can see why JP Morgan will say, okay, let us find everywhere you can buy mine. They are buying, they want to buy mines,
Yeah.
right? And of course, and the other mineral, like the cobalt, tungsten, titanium, they will be going for all those kind of things. And then, and then, because of the change that's going to happen in the in the finance,
Mm.
the way money works.
Yeah.
Therefore, cybersecurity one of the biggest challenge. So therefore, that's so it makes absolutely sense. And
Okay.
it's not only them. You can guarantee that all of the banks, big all the one are thinking the same way.
Now, Kunle, you can now see the reason why I think that African leaders, at this point in time, we should be pursuing some strategic thinking. There must be some strategic direction that we
Well,
follow in Africa right now.
you are right.
Because if you look at it, which continent has the most mineral resources? It's Africa. So if you don't, if
It's
we are not,
Africa
if we are
and
not
South America.
pursuing a particular strategy, there is going to be another scramble for Africa again.
Well, it's not like there's going to be, there is, it's
There is,
already
there is
happening.
already, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so you see, uh, when you make yourself weak,
yeah.
you just become a prey
Mm,
to people who are stronger,
mm,
and that's the biggest challenge that Africa has,
mm,
in that somehow all of the institutions
mm.
of governance are so weak
They are so weak.
by design or otherwise.
Mm,
They're so weak,
mm.
and all of the nations are weak as a consequence. So it
So
is
that,
very
that should be
easy.
one of the strategy we should be pursuing, a strong institution.
Well, yeah. So I think it's, I'm trying to not say a lot, but the point is, you can see already why Africa is where it is, because if I need what Africa has, put yourself in the shoes of the biggest economies.
Yeah,
If I need what you have,
yeah.
then part of my strategy has to be how I can leverage my strength over you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say democracy needs weakness to survive.
Mm, mm,
So there must be some weak and there must be some strong. Some people have to be weak by design, and some have to be strong by design.
mm,
Some people have to be the raw material provider.
mm,
Some have to be the manufacturer by design. So, and that's why sometimes you see all these challenges.
mm,
Uh, some of them, some of them are a direct result of our own poor thinking.
mm.
Some of them are things that we have to contend with. But the real challenge for me is why we make ourselves so weak. Almost when we decide to be shooting ourselves in the foot. Because for example, no matter what happens anywhere else in the world, I don't think anybody says that we have to be damage sabotaging ourselves the way we do, particularly say in Nigeria. Sometimes I just look at it. We sometimes we act like we are our own enemies. Yeah, we don't have to do that. It's in spite of the challenges in the world.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
We don't have to do this to ourselves.
We can pursue a different path.
Yeah, exactly. So you already know that the world is tough enough.
Yeah,
Why do we need to make it tough, even more tough for ourselves?
ourselves. So,
And
so
that's
Kunle,
that's not the
do
challenges.
you have some strategies in mind that you think we can possibly pursue? Do you have some strategies in mind?
If you ask me, the one place, it's a very difficult question. I hmm. It goes back to some of the things we have said in the past.
Mm,
Do we really value ourselves as a people?
mm,
The reason why companies, JP Morgan,
mm.
wants to has chosen the strategies that is they are deploying is because they value themselves. They value themselves as an organization, and they want the best outcome for themselves, regardless of what happens to other banks,
Leverage.
UBS.
Mm,
You know, we love ourselves.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
I think that's where to start from. We, I'm not convinced that we really do like ourselves or love ourselves
mm,
because everything we hinge on that.
mm,
If I value my country and my citizenry and my citizens, then there are decisions that we would need to start making to reflect that. And going back to the story that Jesus told,
yeah, I know it's the network.
yeah, no, that's fine. So as I was saying, Chegun, that when we if you look at that Samaritan story,
Yeah.
everything has to do with how he valued that injured party.
Mm, mm, mm,
And what the priest did
mm,
and what the Levite did was
mm,
also a reflection of how they valued
mm.
the other
Somebody.
human being.
Mm,
That's that. See, these things are not complicated, Shagun.
yeah.
We make things more complicated than they should be.
Mm,
If you do not value something,
mm,
you're going to treat it exactly like that way.
yeah. Mm,
If you do not value a human being, you're going to treat them exactly
mm,
to just exactly as you
mm,
value them.
mm,
It will not be different. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
mm,
And this. Look, I'm sure that most people that run corporations and countries across Africa
mm.
have gone to the best business schools.
Exactly. You see it in their profiles. You see many of them they come to
Okay.
Harvard to do one course or the other. They've gone
Okay.
to Kennedy School of Government, or what do they call that?
So the issue then is not what they know,
Harvard
what they don't
Business
know.
School and all that.
Yeah.
But
So the issue is not, it's not about knowledge,
yeah,
it's about value.
value creation. Mm,
If I assume a position right now, and all I'm thinking is, good, this is my opportunity to better my lot,
mm,
then I'm not thinking about you. You have no interest to me.
mm,
In fact, you are an inconvenience to me.
mm,
Well, that's what it comes down to.
mm. Well, thank you very much, Kunle. I think we should begin to wrap up now. But before we wrap up, I just want to echo um, a strategy that you think we should be pursuing in Africa, which is uh, uh, placing value on human life and human dignity. Um, I think that's
Well,
very
let me ask you a question. How is it possible that you hear that 170 people were taken from a village and they were marched through several villages and not and it's just like, well,
yeah,
another story.
yeah, and nobody seems to. It's just it's become a normal
So
thing
which
for
means
everybody.
this is like you, it's just like when you are moving cattle through farmlands.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's exactly where this thing that's what it boils down to.
mm. Yeah, I think you are right. We really need to value ourselves. We need to place very high premium on one another. We need to uphold human dignity. We need to dignify ourselves. We need to respect what people represent. And for me, I also think, just like you mentioned, we also need a very strong institution. Without strong institution, no matter strategic move we want to make, it's not going to deliver at the end of the day.
No.
Strategies are only implementable when you have very strong institution to drive them. If you don't have strong institution to drive those strategies, you're still going to go back to the same level. And I think at this point in time, one of the things that Africa should be pursuing is that we should allow free flow. There should be ease with which an African can move within the continent. There shouldn't
All
be.
that will happen
Yeah,
when you value your other African. You see? So I mean think about it. If think about the many crises that we face, the wars and all that bit,
mm,
and then um, we're both contesting for election,
mm,
and because I think you're going to likely beat me,
mm.
and next thing I'm thinking is to bring out a gun to
Do you?
eliminate. So now institutions are staffed by human beings. Institutions are not just building; they are is the human beings in those institutions that. So if the institutions will not be strong,
Mm,
if the mind of the individual
mm,
is still wrong.
mm. Now, I don't know if you've heard about the latest, would I even call, how will I even call it? Will I say child's play, or lack of what to do between the Kenya president and Nigerian president? You know, I don't know if you've heard
No,
about that.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, they are throwing jabs at one another. I learned it was Tinubu that first threw the first jab. He was saying that uh, the Nigerian economy is not like Kenya economy, that is poorly managed and not very good. And then the next thing that I saw was the Kenya president also responding to that jab by saying that they speak one of the best English in the world. And I was thinking, when has English become the yardstick for the measurement of intelligence? I'm not putting the blame only on the
Mm,
Kenya president, but I'm just I'm just thinking, why has African president become so low as to making this kind of arguments an
yeah,
essential public
yeah.
space argument? You know,
Those are needless distractions.
yeah,
They
you
are
know,
needless distractions. The work we need to do are enough to think
enormous,
about.
enormous, exactly, they're enormous. I'm just thinking this shouldn't be what we should be talking about at this time. We
Mhm.
have to be more proactive. We have to be more forward looking. We have to look inward at how to strengthen one another and then make the best decision that will propel us forward. Kunle, I will allow you to have the last word and then we can say goodbye and uh, meet again next month for another podcast. Leadership.
Yes, no, thank you so much, Shegun. And we want to bring this home, don't we? So I'll say to the individual is to sit back and look at the things that you set out to do. Wherever you are in life, whether you're a student or you're a business owner, you're a professional, what are the outcomes that you are looking to achieve? And what decisions do you need to make? Either things to initiate or things to stop in order to achieve those outcomes. I think strategy can be brought down to the individual in that level at just as simply as that. And that would mean that can make a bit of difference. And then what resources do I have? How should I redirect my resources in the light of those decisions that I'm starting to make so that I can achieve those outcomes? And whilst at that, let's always remember this, that how we value one another is exactly how we will function in leadership.
Yeah, Kule, I want to thank you. And I want to use this moment to give a very big shout out to our pastor, your pastor, my pastor, all the way from Ghana, Pastor Bright.
Oh, Pastor
I,
Bright, wonderful.
I can see him is sending some message on Facebook. He has always been following our podcast. And
Oh, that is so
Pastor,
wonderful.
we want to say a big thank you
We
uh,
salute you, sir.
for following your children and for being there for us. We appreciate your commitment to seeing your children grow in your presence. We appreciate you for your time,
we,
sir.
we we salute you, sir.
So I just felt we needed to do that.
Oh, that's so
Thank you,
wonderful.
Pastor Bright.
Thank
So
you, sir.
on that note, Kunle, we want to call it uh, a, a day for this Leadership Blueprint podcast. We want to encourage all our viewers to continue to follow us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on YouTube. Very soon, we hope to get in the space of Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, you will soon get to be seeing us on Spotify. We are also expanding our reach, but we want you to help us uh, to push this message forward. Share it with your contact. Spread the news abroad, and let's get the conversation going. So on that note, we want to say bye bye to everyone. And Kule, I want to say bye bye to you.
Chego, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye for now.